President Trump is getting heat from both sides of the political aisle over not specifically condemning white supremacist groups after this past weekend's deadly clashes in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Joining us this morning, our Republican political strategist, Jackie Bally. Good morning to you. And we always balance it out. We've got Democratic political strategist Dallas Jones with us as well. Glad you're both here today. Thanks for taking your time to talk to us about this. I think any time when tragedy strikes like this, as Americans, we tend to turn our attention to the White House. We need response. We need the leader of our country to make us feel better about it, I think. What do you think so far the response has been from the White House and from our president?
Well, I looked at the president's statements because he got a lot of criticism from people to the left, and I wanted to see exactly where the criticism was coming from. He said, first and foremost, we condone bigotry, and there is no room for this type of behavior and violence in our society. He, the president, first lady, and first daughter all said that. Now, specifically, what is some from the left are getting upset about is that he said this hatred is coming from all sides. We all know that we have white nationalists like the KKK, we also have black nationalists, and we have Hispanic nationalists. There's hatred in some of these groups and in all of these groups, and he is absolutely correct. We need to look at all of these groups if we're going to point our finger at bigotry and try to come together as Americans. So the fact that he said it's coming from all sides is a very factual statement. We saw that a couple of years back when a couple of fringe members from Black Lives Matter said, I woke up and I wanted to kill a white cop. We do know that there's hatred from all sides, and we need to come together as Americans.
Dallas, I see your eyebrows going up. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm sorry. Look, anytime there is the notion of trying to have a dialogue that ends in violence, it's tragic for our country. I think this idea that there's this equal playing field in regards to race in this country is just unfathomable. Okay, this country, let's be honest about the history in terms of when you're talking about white nationalism versus black nationalism. The histories are not the same. And the reality of it is that there are people that are still living from the remnants of that history in this country today. And there are communities that are still affected by it. We have to accept it. We have to embrace it. And we look to our leadership in the White House to be a leader on that issue and to bring about a positive future for all of our children, not just one community.
Now, when you looked at what happened on Saturday, race is being thrown into the picture, but you were talking about white supremacists on one side and white pacifists to a certain extent on the other side. This had nothing to do with race. This had everything to do with the organizations that were filled with hate.
Now, we of course, I mean, very few of us would actually agree with the statements and the purpose of the KKK. However, they do have a right to stage a peaceful protest, and that is what they tried to do. None of us condone what they stand for. None of us agree with what they stand for, but they did go through the permitting process to have this protest. And then you had people who opposed them, and there are many people of different colors who oppose them because they stand for hatred, and that's where you saw the clash happen. So just because that there were white upon white does not mean that what they're saying should be allowed or not allowed. It's within their right to have a peaceful protest, but many people of color hate what they...
Jews, to criticize African Americans, and to criticize Hispanics.
Well, I personally don't stand for that message. That's where I was going at first. But it is their right to say what they have to say, just like it is from a black nationalist.
But they were instigating. They were instigating the situation.
But let's also get down to the heart of the matter. This was a rally that was against the removal of a Confederate monument, and if we want to be honest and understand what the Confederacy represents, right? Let's be very clear. The Confederates soldiers, as we look at it today, as we would define it today, were not patriots. They would be considered terrorists. And so as a result of that, if it is okay to stand in this country and condone terrorism, domestic or international, right? If those are the values that we espouse to, yes, the free speech is at the very core of who we are. But at the end of the day, when it takes away what others feel that they should be to be a part of this country, I think it pushes an envelope. And that's why you saw violence erupt. I'm not saying it was right. What I'm saying is that someone lost their life. A number of people lost their lives. And anytime free speech harms others, I think that we have to begin to examine the fundamental idea of the social contract and if we're violating that. And there are limits to it. That's just my opinion. That's what I think I'm here to talk about.
At the ending of the day, it was their right to have this protest. I mean, no one at this sitting on this couch agrees with their sentiments. No one on this couch agrees with what they stand for, but it is their constitutional right to have a peaceful protest.
But it ended up not being very peaceful.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in and chiming in on this, because it is one of those touchy issues
It is.
that will be
Yes, it
discussed
is.
for quite
Yes,
some
it
time
is.
to come in this country.
Good to see you
Thank you.
both.
Thank you for having us.
And we'll be right back.